Hi everyone, and welcome to the Authoritas Tea Time SEO, where we encourage everyone to take a break, a nice tea break at 4 p.m., connect with others and learn something new. I'm SEO Joe Blogs, and Carrie Shepherd is here from Authoritas as well. But today we actually have a new host that will be taking our lovely presenters through the Tea Time SEO today. So I'm going to pass over to Jason Barnard, also known as the SERPs guy, and he will be the host of the session where he will be introducing our great speakers for today. Over to you, Jason.
Oh, thank you very much. That was ace. Thank you for the presentation. I would like to say it's the brand SERP guy. It's that specific type of SERP, which is brand SERPs, which is what people see when they search your brand name. And I think it's really exciting, and nobody else does. But I'm going to keep going, and I'm so enthusiastic. Everybody in the world will think they're exciting soon. So on to the presentations. We're welcoming Alice Farren, Martyna Walas, and Charlotte Ross for how much content do you need to rank, which is an ace question. I love this question. And I can't wait to hear what you three wonderful people have got to say about it. I learned that this is your first webinar for all of you. And I'm really keen for it to go incredibly well. So I'm going to be friendly and bouncy, like Tigger in Winnie the Pooh. Just over enthusiastic, and it's going to be awesome. And I've seen the slides, I had a sneak peek, and they're brilliant. So stick around. I'm not going to introduce you because every time I do that, the person then repeats me. So there's no point. So I'll let you introduce yourselves before you actually speak. Welcome to you guys, and welcome to everybody who's watching. We have the opportunity to ask questions. You just put them into the chat, and at the end, we'll answer as many questions as we can. Preferably questions about content and how long it needs to be to rank. That would be logical in terms of kind of thematics going on. Don't ask about link building or log file analysis, which was the last one we did. So we're sticking to how much content you need to rank, and we can get going brilliantly with Alice Farren. Lovely to meet you, and please introduce yourself and then tell us. Yep, sorry.
Thanks, Jason. Hi, so I'm Alice, and I'm the project manager at Dojono. We're a specialist SEO agency based in London, or in your living room, as it seems to be for most people at the moment. And we focus primarily on the FinTech vertical. Before I became a project manager, my career in SEO was as a content creator. So it's probably no surprise then that I'm most passionate about content marketing and on-site SEO. As Jason mentioned before, this is my first time speaking at an event, so fingers crossed this all goes to plan. And that's me. So I'll pass over to Martina now.
Brilliant stuff. And you have the best LinkedIn profile URL I've ever seen, as we'll see at the end. Keep an eye out for that, everyone, because it's really cool. Martyna Walas, lovely to meet you too. Please do tell us about yourself.
Hello, thank you first for having me here, and it's really nice to see you all there also participating in this brilliant event. It's my first webinar ever, so I'm quite excited to join you. And I'm the CEO executive in Bluerank, and I'm quite young blood in the industry, but I have worked in marketing for about like 3 years. However, SEO finally has become my passion, my main interest. And also I'm very interested in UX and joining those two fields. And well, I really hope that my tips would help you in your projects and make them even more effective.
Brilliant,
and
wonderful.
Over to you, Charlotte.
No, we have a marketer coming over to the SEO side. I'm an SEO going over to the marketing side. So we're kind of crossing in the middle, which is rather wonderful. Charlotte Ross, lovely to meet you too. This is one of your first? You've already done webinars and conferences, or is this your first?
No, this is my first. So yeah, I work at Dojono. I'm a Senior SEO Executive. Alice spoke a little bit about Dojono. I'm really passionate about creating content that ranks well and meets the user's intent every time. So this is my first conference, and I'm really thank you for having me.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you, all three of you, for coming along, because this is a very important question. And lots of people try and write 1,000 words for every single thing they ever write because they think that's what makes them rank. And I'm pretty sure that's not true for everything. So we're going to come on with top tips from Alice Farren. I'll let you take over and I'll shut up for a while.
Perfect, thank you. So if we start by addressing the initial question of how much content do you need to rank, my advice here would be that your optimum target content length will always depend upon the length of the content on your competitors' pages. So there's no real one-size-fits-all approach here, and you need to take each page individually. However, what I think is more important is that you consider the format of the content, and this is something that I'm going to go into more detail in today. So if we can move on to the next slide, please. Of course, you can pinpoint and analyze your competitors manually simply by getting a list together of the keywords you want to target or those that you're already targeting, typing them into Google and looking at who occupies those SERP positions from 1 to 10, and they're your competitors. As many of you probably already know, this is time consuming and it doesn't necessarily always yield the best results. So if you can look for a way to automate this, and this brings me on to my first tip, we use SEMrush SEO Writing Assistant, which is a bit of a mouthful. And this is a really handy tool, particularly if you install it as an add-on for Google Docs. So as you can see from the screenshot here, what this enables you to do is copy and paste your content into the Google Doc, and it will automatically compare this with your competitors. And in doing that, it will then give you an overall score. This score is out of 10. I would say that you ideally want to try and aim for a score of 7 or above. So if we move on to the next slide now, please. The way this score is calculated is according to several different areas. So the first is readability, the second is the SEO and keywords, and the third is tone. It also looks at the originality of your content as well. And with the readability, it will give you a score of how easy your content is to read. And to answer the initial question that this presentation is on, it will also give you a target word count, and that's based on how long your competitors' pages are. So it will give you that for you, which saves a lot of time. With the SEO and keywords section, you can input your seed keywords, and it will tell you whether you're over-optimizing or under-optimizing these. And another thing that this does that is particularly useful is it will throw up a bunch of semantically related words, which you can then sprinkle throughout your content, and this will in turn boost those seed keywords that we want to rank for. If I then move on to the tone, obviously because we focus on the finance industry, we always aim for a formal tone, and you can see here the line of casual or formal. It'll tell you how consistent your tone is and flag up any casual sentences that you might want to go in and edit. And that's really why this tool is useful, because once you've got these initial scores and you've got these recommendations, you can go into your Google Doc, start editing things, and you can watch these scores rise as you're doing it. So it's a really great tool to finesse your content and make sure you're not just looking at content length, and you're also considering that alongside all of these other content formatting areas. If we move on to the next slide, please. So my second tip alongside this would be to research any featured snippet opportunities that you can include within your content. This is a great way to maximize your organic visibility. For example, just to prove that I'm not talking rubbish here and making things up, we've been focused on this with one of our business loan sites in the last 4 weeks, and only doing this, and that's increased our organic visibility by 10%. So it's a great way to start doing that. Charlotte is going to talk about this in more detail later on, so I'm just going to touch on how you identify those snippets for now. And the way in which you can do this, again, is to go into SEMrush, go into the featured snippet section, where you'll be able to see the featured snippets you've already got, if you have some. And you'll also be able to see the opportunities there. Once you've clicked on opportunities, what I would now advise you do is that you order these results from positions 1 to 10. Now, the reason I say this is not because it's impossible to get a featured snippet if you're on page 2, 3, or 4. That's not unheard of. It's more because those that you're in positions 1 to 10 for, they're your quick wins. It's far easier to get the featured snippet if you already occupy those positions. So once you've done that, you can export this data into a spreadsheet. And my final recommendation really would be to then use conditional formatting to identify the low-hanging fruit opportunities. So what I mean by that are those that are high volume, low keyword difficulty, and prioritize targeting those first, because this will grow your organic visibility quickest. Thank you, that's my tip. So I'll pass over to Martina.
Brilliant stuff. So Martyna Walas?
Thanks.
Is it Wallace or Walas?
It's Walas actually, but Wallace is also quite nice. So
Wallace. Well, yeah, I was thinking. Sorry, I was thinking of Wallace. Terribly English of me. I do apologize. Please go ahead.
Sure, no problem. Okay, so my main thoughts in my tips that I would like to present you is that one size fits all is no longer effective. So marketing specialists face the challenge of matching the message to the user to the user that is expressed by him at a given moment, depending on the specific stage on the purchasing journey. So focusing on keywords is not enough. So we have to look at it from different perspective. So my first tip, and actually first step to begin with, would be to identify the search intent. So go to Google and check what SERPs look like for your keyword that you want to use particularly, and or just like in an industry. Then adjust your content by adding some features, maybe such as Google My Business, and maybe you can ensure that your content would be visible in Google Graphics or in featured videos. So then you can be sure that it's not neglect, and because there is like if you neglect this, even your weaker competition can steal your traffic and your CTR rate. So because they would be more visible to the user. And speaking of Google My Business, Google more and more often displays maps with local places for general and category related queries. So this is a great chance actually to break through with our local website. For example, if you have some services in a very competitive environment. And also obtaining visibility through graphic content or featured videos is a nice move because it doesn't require usually very large expenditure on this, so it's worth to implement it. And my second tip would be, next slide please, yes, sure. My second tip would be to check what keywords your readers actually want to see. So SEO specialists know that how important it is to deliver the rich content for readers, and for the sake of EAT that came with birth in 2019. But as search engines are becoming more capable of better understanding intents of the searchers, thanks to the continuous advancements of their linguistic AI capabilities, such as NLP, it's becoming more crucial to provide users with semantically close content to their main keywords, so they may see some specific phrases or words that will assure them that your content is what they are looking for actually. And here, for example, would be to use tools such as Surfer SEO, or at least add on to Chrome, like Keyword Surfer, to make your keyword research even more effective. And moving to the next slide, and to the third tip. Well, Google likes the content that is released on a regular basis. So when there is no methods or there are large time loops between releases, then you're likely to face the challenge of reaching the results you actually expect. So as we all know, in SEO, it takes some time to rank. And I would like to here also share with you some examples from our partners. And as you can see on the slide, the first screen shows the traffic increase on a blog since March 2018, and we reached best results in April 2020. And actually, you can see here smaller impact of coronavirus effect, which is quite positive. And the highest value of traffic was almost 15,000 sessions. But it's also worth to mention that we're talking here about quite narrow range of products, because our partner here is from electronic industry. And the second screen is from our partners that sells different types of bags, luggage, suitcases. And in March and April, the traffic on their blog set down, of course, like in a brick and mortar stores. We all know why. And blog section was launched with the recommendation of Bluerank. So we started practically from scratch, reaching the record month in September 2019 with almost 30,000 organic sessions. So traffic, and it's also worth to mention that traffic on their blog is quite seasonal, because the peak is in late spring, summer, and early autumn. But they also have several evergreen articles on their blog that generate around 3,000 sessions every month. So it's a nice tip, to mix the content. And also in this case, you can see a decrease in 2018 actually, because our partner decided to move their blog to the subdomain, and actually they moved it back after 3 weeks. So it's a nice tip to keep your blog, your content sector in your root domain, not the subdomain. And that's all from me. We can move to Charlotte.
Wonderful stuff. Thank you very much. That was brilliant, Alice and Martina, in fact. I moved part of my site to a subdomain, and I saw exactly the same thing happen, but I didn't bother moving it back, so I'm still suffering. Oh, and I have a question. Reklama is ad in Polish, isn't it?
Yes, exactly, it is.
Yeah, so I was reading the screen instead of listening to you. Charlotte, please go ahead. This is going to be ace as well.
Cheers. So picking up from where Alice left off, I just want to talk a little bit further about how optimizing and formatting content is just as important as length. So I'm going to give you 3 tips. 1 for optimizing content as a whole, 1 for featured snippets, and lastly, 1 for your result in the SERP. So my first tip for optimizing content is to make sure that your H2 and H6 headings are asking all the right questions. So you want to make sure that your content is asking and answering the questions that the user wants to know. So we all know that search engines favour content which proves most relevant and useful to the user. So think about this carefully and what it is exactly what the user wants to know. So usually the types of questions are quite easy for you to determine. So for instance, this might be a set of standard questions such as like, what is your target keyword? How does it work? What does it do? What are the risks and benefits associated with your target keyword, and so on. However, for these questions where they might not be applicable or relevant, you can determine what the information the users want to look at by having a look at your questions that your competitors are asking, the people also ask questions, and your search is related to at the bottom of the search. So this will give you a good indication of the search intent, as well as understanding what information that your user wants to know. So ultimately, this is going to help you to create better content that is targeted towards the user. So my second tip is about optimizing for featured snippets, and that is to answer the questions using the right format. So if you're not already aware, featured snippets come in a few different formats, but for the most part, you'll have 3 main results, and you'll see them on the SERP. They're paragraph featured snippets. They'll usually answer like the what, when, where, how search queries. List featured snippets. These are usually like the steps, the recipes, the tips, the methods, and ultimately how to do something. And lastly, table featured snippets. These are usually showing data, rates, percentages, comparisons, and things like that. So we quickly take a look at the next slide. I've included 2 examples of featured snippets that we've got. So one's a list and the other is a paragraph. So when optimizing for different types of featured snippets, I suggest that you start by taking a look at the current result in position 0. That's what the feature position is. So once you've done that, I've got a few top pointers for optimizing for that snippet on my next slide. Right, so first you want to identify the type of snippet currently ranking and tailor-make your content to match that snippet format. So what I mean by that is if the current featured snippet is a list or a table, add one to your content. You're unlikely to be able to outrank that with a paragraph, so you don't want to waste your time. So secondly, for a paragraph featured snippet, stick to around 50 to 70 words. So although we're stressing that the format of the content is more important than length, this is actually where length of the content is important. So from experience, with paragraph featured snippets, which dominate most of the featured snippet results, you'll want to keep that within 2 to 3 sentences in length. So be strict with this. It may take a little bit of practice to getting used to, but it will help you optimize for those featured snippets, and it's plenty long enough to really summarize your answer. So number 3, look at how they've answered the search query and consider ways that you could improve this result. It doesn't mean copying what your competitors have done and tweaking it. Instead, this is where it's helpful for you to go back and take a look at the people also ask questions and the searches related to queries, because that will help you to factor in the information that you know that the users want to know. So number 4, some featured snippets don't answer the query, don't make the same mistake. So it's not uncommon for you to see featured snippets in the search that don't actually answer the query that it ranks for. Don't make the mistake of emulating that featured snippet. Instead, focus on answering the question as best you can. You have a better chance of outranking the current result by providing a better answer. So number 5, avoid using stock words or phrases, anything that might waste your word count. Get straight to the point, make your point, summarize the answer in as much detail as you can, and it's as simple as that. So number 6, if you want, you can further back your answer by adding and enumerating points, bullet points. This can help you add a bit more authority to what the points that you're trying to make. These sometimes or may sometimes not get picked up in the featured snippet, but they give you more authority. So my third and final tip for optimizing your search result is to utilize FAQ schema on your page. So you may or may not have already seen FAQ results appear in the result on the search, but here's what it looks like. I've included a little example of one of our sites with FAQ schema. So basically what this is showing you is showing how adding this schema to your page can help enrich your result, as it includes more of your content and more useful information to the user. It will also push all your competitors after you further down the search result page, which is ultimately what you want. That concludes my 3 tips.
Brilliant stuff. That was ace. Thank you very much. In fact, what I heard there is, rather than worrying about, from all 3 of you, in fact, was rather than worrying about how long should my content be, it's look where my content is going to be showing in the SERP, and often that's going to be a SERP feature. So your content is now, you were saying at the beginning, Alice, formatted around how it's going to be shown. And that's the first question is, somebody asked, I don't know who it is, but you mentioned the format of the content is more important than the length, which is what we just said. How long did it take you to see that section of your site appear for featured snippets? Everyone here seems to be really impatient because we've got this same question twice. How long does it take? We're impatient.
So to answer that question, I think it varies. However, to give some examples, we did a couple for startup loans, and I think it was self-employed loans, and we had, from making the updates with the writing assistant and targeting the featured snippets there, using the tips Charlotte said as well, we had those featured snippets within 48 hours. So it is possible to have a really quick turnaround there. Obviously, some take longer, and it's hard to tell how long that will take. But to answer your question, you can do it that quickly because we've done it ourselves. So
wonderful, and especially difficult in the loans industry, I would have thought, because there's that whole kind of trust thing going on.
Yeah.
Okay. In fact, and so somebody else asked you, Charlotte, how long did it take you? I mean, 48 hours, is that reasonable, or is everyone going to get overexcited, go home and try and do it in 48 hours and they're going to be disappointed?
I think it does depend, but like Alice said, it's taken us as little as 48 hours to see a featured snippet result. So it all depends, really. maybe suggest revisiting the content like a month later if you haven't got the results that you want.
Okay, brilliant. Question for Martina.
Yeah.
How do you identify search intent for many keywords and not manually? Another lazy person wants to do this really quickly and really easy. Sorry, whoever asked the question, I do apologize. That was very rude. How do you do it quickly, simply, and not manually?
Well, I think there is no method to not do this manually in 100%, but you can make it more effective by, for example, using such tools like, for example, Ahrefs and Content Explorer, Keyword Explorer. So joining those two methods in one tool can give you quite quickly a brief, insight on what users are exactly looking for, and what content should look like for their queries in search engine. So I would recommend that, but still, like going manually and just having a look in how it looks like in SERPs and for example making some research is also a good idea. You need to just join different methods, but for a top of mind, I would go for Ahrefs and Content Explorer.
Okay, brilliant stuff. Another question then, is there a good keyword density? That was for Martina as well. What's a good keyword density? Can we generalize or not?
Good keyword density. Well, of course, the main keywords you're mainly interested in should appear at least like 2 or 3 times in the text. But the problem here, the case here is more complex because maybe I wouldn't focus on only keyword density only in one article, for example. I would go go wider and see how much content on a specific topic you have in your website. So maybe sometimes it wouldn't be the case of keyword density, but the level of how much you gave some information on the content, your expertise. So sometimes it may be maybe 5 articles on-site articles, but maybe sometimes it would have to take around 50 or 100. So I would more focus here on EAT thing and a complex approach to the content you're presenting on your website.
Yeah, great advice. Focus on being authoritative, expert, and trustworthy. That's going to pay long term and help you even short term. Now, question for Charlotte again. You said that the timing depends on seeing the featured snippets. Do you use Search Console to check that, or do you use an SEO tool to check it?
So generally, I'll use an SEO tool to check it. Something like SEMrush or Ahrefs. They're really quite good for refreshing and picking up your featured snippets.
Okay. Brilliant. Lots of SEO tools as well will filter by feature snippet to show you how you're doing compared to the competition, which is wonderfully useful and sometimes rather disappointing when you're not doing such a great job. Which brings me to Alice's question, which is the SEMrush writing assistant add-on for Google that you were talking about. How much do you have to stick to that advice? I mean, is it written in stone, or can you play around with it a bit and ignore some stuff?
You can certainly play around with it. Like I said previously, it gives you, so there are each the individual sections of recommendations of what you to do, but it gives you an overall score. And we found that we tried to aim to get an overall score of 7 or above. So if you're getting a 7.2 or something, you're probably not ticking off absolutely every single recommendation. You could end up being there for hours and hours and hours if you do that, because you can get a 9 and it will still give you some recommendations. So what I would say is try to get it above that 7 overall score mark, and then at that point, if you're happy, try it, see how it does, and like Charlotte said, maybe give it a month or so. And if nothing's happened, come back to it and try optimizing it a bit further.
Yeah, I'm sorry, nothing's permanent. You do it, give it a go, see how it works, come back again, and use a bit of common sense when you're looking at the numbers and think, okay, that doesn't say what it should be saying, but my common sense tells me, for example, in the financial industry, I need a formal tone and not the fun tone that I personally would use on everything I write. That was absolutely amazing. That was brilliant. Thank you very much. We've come to the end. That's the end of the questions. I thought that was really great, really informative. You all three gave amazing tips and were delightful and wonderful in presenting them. If you want to connect with Charlotte, it's Skubmrot. If you want to connect to Martina, it's Walasm. And to Alice, I really want to do this. Alice Farren, B6029848/. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're going to have Joe back for the presentation of next week's, or tomorrow's, sorry. I'm getting confused. Thank you to you three. Thank you to Joe and Carrie for having us. Over to you, Joe.
Yeah, thank you very much. Just want to emphasize a big thank you to all three for speaking. And it's great that you're coming and doing your first speaking gig at the Authoritas Tea Time SEO. So thank you very much. And the links that were in the presentation, they're all on LinkedIn. This will be shared also later, and we'll also be tagging all our speakers. So please follow the conversation there. And tomorrow we do have 3 great speakers again, talking about Google Tag Manager, what you need to do, something very interesting that many people may get wrong. We have it with Paul, Ariane, and Jerry White tomorrow at 4 p.m. And if anybody wants to speak, please get in touch with Carrie Shepherd here. We've got some slots available at the end of May, and we'll be running some sessions in June. So thank you very much to Jason for hosting on today's sessions. And thanks very much to Carrie for helping to organize this. She's the one that's sending out you all the emails. She's doing a lot of the content on the blog. So big thank you to the team here. So I'll leave you, and we will see one another tomorrow at 4 p.m. Bring your cake, take a photo, tag us, bring your tea, coffee, and maybe a cheeky drink tomorrow. It is Friday after all.
Ooh, I'm coming.
See you then. Thank you.
Great. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.